assume that because we're white, we don't experience racism. And coming from a white woman, I'm only talking about my own perspective. I can't speak for black people. I can't.
Saying that you can't be racist towards white people is actually racist towards white people.
Excited to have you, amazing viewer. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. The question is this: can white people experience racism? What are your thoughts on this? Take a listen.
So last night I was the, dare I say, victim of what I believe to be intense racial profiling. And I've taken some time to process, and after I've processed, I've realized it was super racist. So I was on my way to a men's league basketball game, and I stopped in a Sweetgreen to get a water, and I went to buy the water, and I was talking to the cashier, and I was like, yeah, I just got to grab this water. I'm on my way to my men's league basketball game. And he said to me, oh, are you the coach? Coach? What about me? Says coach. Is it my white skin? Is it the way that my calves are kind of chunky, like white people calves? Is it my flat feet? There is absolutely no reason to make the assumption that I am the coach of this team other than my everything about me. And is he right? Am I the coach of the team? Yes. Okay? But that's besides the point. It's racism. Racist.
Check. I've got this friend who's black who said that every single time a cashier asks, do you want your receipt? He says yes, grabs said receipt and holds on to it firmly as he leaves the establishment because in the back of his mind, he is always aware that he might be accused of stealing. I myself, anytime I'm asked, do you want your receipt? I say no, because I hate paper consumption.
White people invented societal and systemic racism. You can't be racist to white people. To me, that's like saying humans can't get burned because they're the ones that invented fire. That's just not how it works. And I know it's not the same thing. But in all fairness, you can't be systemically or systematically racist to white people. They invented the system. But it doesn't mean you can't be individually prejudiced towards a white individual. And prejudice based on a race or ethnicity, by dictionary definition, is racism. There are some areas white people have an advantage right now. Trust me, I know. I'm black. But just because I'm black and experience systematic or systemic racism doesn't mean I can't discriminate against a white individual for being white. I don't want that type of power. Why would I want immunity from being racist? Then I would not be able to hold myself accountable for saying things to white individuals. We all need to be sure that we're not being racist. And again, systematic and systemic racism is way different, but we never want to be prejudiced towards another individual based on race. That's racism.
You can't be racist towards white people. That's what's being taught to kids nowadays. And in an attempt to try and justify their racism, they try to redefine the word racist, right? They say, well, it's not systemic, or that white people are in power, therefore they can't have racism applied to them. You can be bigotrous towards white people, just not racist. What? You think I'm joking? This is an actual argument going on in our universities right now. You can't be racist, you can only be bigotrous. Like, so the alternative is you're just a bigot? I don't understand. And let me be clear here. The only people that are trying to redefine the word racist are racists, right? They're the people trying to justify the way that they feel towards an entire swath or group of people without any justification. And I'm sorry, but you're the one with the history of bad behavior. You're the one that treats people as an entire group and instead of looking at people as individuals. And now you're trying to justify that bad behavior by changing the definition and gaslighting people to believe that you're not an actual racist. Guess what? You are.
So I'm going to go ahead and openly admit that I am completely ignorant about the white experience with racism, and I'm sure that is painfully obvious to a lot of you. Now, I know that I'm always telling other people don't be lazy and entitled, the internet is free, look things up on your own, but it's not that I haven't tried to engage in my own research. I have literally searched how do white people experience racism? And unfortunately, not a lot of information comes up. Most of it is articles questioning whether white people can experience racism, or articles about the myth of anti-white racism. However, I of all people know that the dominant narrative is not necessarily accurate because it is often pushing a harmful agenda. So because there is that dearth of information on the internet, I was wondering if you could please help me understand, how do white people experience racism, and what does experiencing racism look like from your perspective as a white person? And also, can you help me understand, if white people experience racism, why are there not more of you who are working to dismantle racism? Because what I've noticed is I'm often told that white people do experience racism without any specifics, and in the context of either gaslighting or upholding the racism that other people experience. Whereas with most people of the global majority, when we share similarities and differences in how we experience racism, we use that information to increase our work to dismantle racism. Whereas people like you seem to only bring it up to decrease that work.
Is it okay to be racist towards white people?
I don't think you can be racist towards white people.
Okay, here we go.
What do you mean by that?
Racism was invented by white people.
Like, let's say they made a law today that like white people aren't allowed in restaurants. Do you think then racism could exist?
I think that would be called a prejudice. I don't think that'd be racism.
Really?
Yeah.
What is racism?
Racism is a made-up social structure that exploits people based on their race.
So based on that definition, if you outlaw certain races from doing something, wouldn't that be racism then?
You can't take it out of historical context.
White people cannot experience racism.
So I figured it was a good time to talk about this. So there's a very big difference between racism and bigotry and bias. Racism targets people of a lesser social status within the society. Bigotry is a judgment based on a collected view of a particular culture or a person within a society. Racism specifically puts down people of those lesser statuses and pushes them further down or reiterates their lesserness. And to be clear, I'm not calling them lesser, I'm saying that's how it's viewed, or that's how they are viewed within society. So you can't be racist against white people because white people are at the top of the food chain. You can make fun of the behaviors of a white person, but that's not racist. You can point out traits and behaviors, but that's not racist.
Here's the definition of racism. Discrimination or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. And then here come a bunch of you talking about, well, you see, they have to be a minority or marginalized. Not true. Keyword typically, which means this: in most cases, or usually, does not mean exclusively. So yes, black people can be racist to white people in the United States. They're just saying in most cases of racism, it's usually the people who are in power that are being racist. Does not mean it's only the people in power. But again, recently we've decided to change definitions to fit what we want them to fit instead of keeping the definitions for what they actually are. So yes, anyone can be racist, not only the people in power.
Let's talk about why black people can't be racist. This seems like a pretty confusing concept to a lot of people on this app, so I wanted to take the time to break it down. So yes, there's absolutely a power dynamic, and white people possess a lot more power than black people. So it's almost impossible for black people to have enough power to exercise and practice racism that affects white people. But let's even go one step further than that. I want to make it clear that I'm about to speak generally, but black people are not mean to white people because they're white. Black people do not discriminate against white people because they're white. If black people do discriminate against white people, it's often because of a history of anti-blackness that has affected us for generations. It has everything to do with the collective actions of white people as opposed to the collective color of their skin. Unlike white people, black people have never been afforded the opportunity to treat anyone different solely based on race.
No, it wouldn't be racism, because you can't be racist to a white person because they're white. White people win too much. Listen. As much as I hate our school system, I think if you paid attention in class a smidgen better, you'd understand what you're talking about a smidgen more. Because the idea that every single white person in America, or even most, was just out there like, get him, is absolutely insane. I mean, who fought for that freedom? I don't suppose a group of racist individuals got together and was like, you know what would be real funny? If we abolish slavery. That'll get him, that'll show him. No. America has always had a set of morals that we should and would like to uphold. Now, have we had struggles and challenges upholding those values? Of course, naturally. But we've always had those values, because to ignore where we were then and how far we've come would be completely ignorant. I mean, if the outcome of the Civil War and the destruction of Jim Crow laws is an example of white people winning too much, then who did you really want to win?
It is really frustrating to me that so many people don't understand why reverse racism isn't a thing. Let me start by saying I am not invalidating any white person's experience of prejudice. What I am saying is that a lot of people think that prejudice and racism are the same thing. Prejudice is an aspect of racism. However, the difference is racism is prejudice plus power. And by power, I mean on an individual and institutional level. We do not live in a society where every racial group has equal power. In our Western world, white people do not experience job discrimination, poverty, police brutality, and incarceration at the level that black people do. And I'm not saying here that they don't experience these things at all, but they do not experience it on the same level as black people. And racism can't and won't end without the awareness that all races are not treated equally in our society.
White people, stop making this ignorant statement. Stop it. I received this comment on one of my videos and I just had to address it today because I've heard it so many times. So let's talk about this. Being mean, a black person being mean to you is not racism. A black person being mean to you is not the same as systemic racism. A black person being mean to you is not the same as anti-black racism. They are not the same. It's a false equivalence. Okay? Someone being mean to you is not the same as racism. If someone says to you, you know, I just got diagnosed with cancer, and your response is, well, I just had the flu last week. What are you complaining about? You sound ridiculous. You sound ignorant. You sound insensitive. You sound uninformed. Stop making these false equivalencies, okay? Someone being mean to you is not reverse racism. It doesn't even exist, okay? So learn about what racism is so that you can stop these behaviors and stop causing harm.
Y'all, why am I seeing so many white people who want to be oppressed recently? Being oppressed is not fun. Why are y'all acting like all the black people and people of color are at recess having a good old time and all the white people are like, please, I want to play. I want to be oppressed too. It's not fun. It's not recess. Okay, it's not Disney. Y'all act like it's Disneyland and all the black people are having the most fun time on the roller coasters and shit. Whee! It ain't fun. Okay, I know black people make it look fun and funny and we make fun of it and everything else, but being oppressed is not a good time, honey. Okay, so stop trying to join in like we over here double dutching and you can't even jump in and you trying to jump in and get your no.
All white people are racist. Every single last one of them, all of them are racist. You uphold a system of racism by literally just being white.
This is one of those situations where you're fighting for a cause, you're speaking out about something, but your viewpoints get so extreme that you're now doing what you're fighting against. And do you know what I think? I think quarantine has to be the biggest factor of why we're seeing extreme viewpoints like this. You can't possibly fight racial injustice in this country and then immediately have your opening statement be categorizing and stereotyping a group of people based on the color of their skin. Your resentment toward far-right conservative white Americans does not give you the justification to group white people as a whole. It can't be all, right? I mean, it can't be the white South Americans, the white Central Americans, the white Africans, right? Because it doesn't make sense. It's not nice to call someone racist. We throw that word out to white people so much. It's like, really, it's really not nice. So that video was taken down, I think, or reported.
That was it about this video, guys. I just want to mention that it's for educational purposes. Try to comment in a constructive way. Kindly let's share our thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video for recommendation. Let's make that positive change. Kindly good comments. I insist on that. Kindly also, yeah, share the video and share your thoughts. Kindly. Goodbye for now. Appreciate your love and support.